I suppose formally we'd better get this on the record. You weren't a spy.
I wasn't a spy, I'm not a spy, and I will never be a spy.
How were you treated in prison?
The most difficult thing was the severe psychological and mental pressure that I was under. Just knowing that nobody else knew where I was, and then being told that if I didn't cooperate, in other words, if I didn't admit to being a spy, even though that was something I wasn't, that I could be in jail for 10 years or 20 years, and by the time I came out, I'd be an old lady, they said. And they also said maybe I could even face execution. And they said if I admitted to being a spy, I could be freed. And in the past, I had seen videotapes of people making confessions to trying to overthrow the regime through their exchange work or academic work. And I didn't believe any of those videos, but I thought, well, this is the way things work here in the Islamic Republic. You sometimes have to confess to things you don't do in order to be free.
It's a prison with an absolutely brutal and terrible reputation, but physically you weren't maltreated.
No, I wasn't. And like you said, it has a terrible reputation, and when I got there, I was just shocked. I couldn't believe that they were taking me to Evin prison. And, you know, what I remember from Evin prison, I went to Iran in early 2003, and in June of that year, there were reports that an Iranian-Canadian journalist had been killed while in Iranian custody. She had been taking photographs outside Evin prison, and they arrested her, Zahra Kazemi. So I thought, oh, what would happen if this happens to me? And nobody had seen me being taken from my apartment. Nobody knew where I was. What if they would never find out? This was the image that I had when I went into Evin prison.
Can I ask you about these protests that are taking place in Iran at present? From what you know of the country, do they have the power to bring the regime down or significantly change it?
I know that a lot of Iranians are very angry at the way that these peaceful protesters have been treated, confronted with violence. And it's not clear yet if the violence will continue, and if it does, will the people be scared into silence, or will the opposite happen? Will they be more aggravated? But even if they become silent, these ones who are protesting and the ones who are upset now, that doesn't mean that their emotions or their contempt will just disappear. Instead, I think these emotions will remain and they'll just intensify. And the next opportunity that they might have for an opening to express themselves, they could just burst out. And next time, they might not be peaceful anymore, and they'll be much more difficult to control.
And do you think President Obama is right to support the demonstrators?
Well, I think what he's been doing is condemning the violence used against them and condemning violations of human rights. And he's said very clearly we don't want to interfere in Iranian sovereignty, and the decision ultimately is up to the Iranian people. And I think that the Obama administration seems to be quite aware that if they do take a very aggressive stance, or if they do take sides between the different politicians, that this could be taken advantage of or exploited by a lot of hardliners in Iran, as has been seen in the past, who would just use it as a pretext to crack down on the protests.
But you've seen the hard side of this regime at first hand. How long can the protests continue?
This really remains to be seen. It depends on the Iranian people, what they're willing to do and how they're willing to show their emotions. If they prefer to be quiet, or if they have to be quiet because they're scared, or if they become more aggravated. Of course, not the whole population supports the protests. Ahmadinejad has his supporters, and maybe there are even some who think that this use of violence is necessary, but there are large parts of the population I know who are very upset and very angry.
Roxana Saberi, thank you.